My nephew, he's the director of the wine and viticulture technology program at Lake Michigan College in Benton Harbor, Tim Godfrey. Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me on.
Great to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
I got a chance to see Tim in action. He's got this beautiful the Welch Center. It's on the campus of Lake Michigan College. It's the jewel of the college, actually.
Yeah.
And you teach people how to make wine.
Yeah, it's a pretty elegant little system we have. We basically teach all the technology behind wine and viticulture in an associate's degree program that most people can complete in like 18 to 24 months. So we have a strategic partnership with Michigan State Extension, who operates a research center in Benton Harbor. That's where our students kind of cut their teeth learning vineyard management. This is a picture you can see right now is one of our students snipping some grapes for harvest. Then we bring them into the winery. So we have pretty much the only commercial teaching winery in one of the only in the U.S., but certainly the only one.
I was going to ask, how rare is a program like this, Tim?
It's super rare. There's only, it's probably about a dozen in the country, but most of them are out west in more established regions like California, Washington, et cetera.
Now your path back home to Michigan, you're a Michigan native. Started in Grand Rapids, and then you moved out to California. Talk about that experience a little bit.
Yeah, sure. I ended up coming back to Michigan after working through part of a graduate school degree, and came back to Michigan and was really interested in fermentation.
Yeah.
And my background was kind of primed for it, so I got into brewing actually first. That led me to the hard cider industry, and eventually kind of ended up really becoming fascinated with wine. Moved to California. Ended up pursuing wine education through UC Davis a little bit, but I actually got caught up in the cider industry for like 7 years. Had a cider brand with some friends out in California, but home's always calling, and finally it was time to come back, and I had an incredible opportunity to just jump headfirst into wine in Michigan, which is a really exciting place to be making wine right now.
And you guys actually, you sell the wine that you and the students produce.
Yeah, so
that's so cool.
The student experience is pretty like 360 immersive. So, they're managing the vines, they make the wine, and then we actually throw them in the tasting room and say, okay, now you got to learn how to sell the wine, because you can make great wine, but if you can't sell it, it doesn't. It's all for naught.
So are you allowed to drink it if you're underage in the program? You don't have to answer that if you don't want to.
Well, there is an exception in Michigan state law that does allow people to taste under the age of 21 for the purpose of learning at an accredited institution.
There you go.
Which is pretty incredible. So like these people graduate our program and they have a better palate for tasting wine than I had at 30. So
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
What is it about Southwest Michigan that makes it like a wine central?
So when you look at all the famous wine regions across the world, like you always think water to the west. So if you have big bodies of water, they have a moderating effect on the climate, and that really can create unique microclimates and conditions for growing grapes. So in our case, we have Lake Michigan provides a moderating effect. Even though we have really cold winters, it keeps it just warm enough to keep the grapevines from seeing any damage related to the cold. Now that's most of the European varieties of everything that you've probably ever heard about wine. That's Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, Riesling, Cabernet Sauvignon, all those varieties that we really love. That's the European grapevine. Okay. Now we're in Jackson. We're a little more central, but we have great wineries here. We have wineries like Sandhill Crane, like Cherry Creek, and they can grow probably some of those European varieties, but they grow a lot of hybridized varieties, which is the European grapevine hybridized with the North American grapevine. Those are more cold tolerant, and they can stand the colder temperatures that we see in Jackson.
What type of industry jobs are your students moving on to after they finish your program, Tim?
They're all over the place. Because we kind of hit the vineyard, the winery, and the sales, hospitality piece. They can move into any of those. We have some incredible students that have opened their own wineries, own their own vineyards, but the majority are in more supporting roles. So they're an assistant winemaker, they're maybe leading operations at a tasting room, or they're in the vineyard kind of leading crews of people that are maintaining vines.
Yeah. Is the country taking notice of your program?
I think so. I think Michigan wine is kind of on the come up. We like to think that, we think about California, and there's been wine being made there for maybe hundreds of years, let's say. Well, in Michigan, we've really been doing it since the late 90s, so maybe 30 years, let's say.
Wow.
And then you go to Europe, and there's hundreds and maybe centuries of history, but you look at the most ancient winemaking regions and kind of the cradle of civilization in modern day Turkey, where they've been making wine probably for like 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 years. We're just in our infancy. We're just figuring it out here still. So our program, I think, is kind of on the forefront of pushing what wine is going to be in Michigan, and really just continuing some of the great legacy that's already started with the existing wineries too.
Students in your program, it's hard work.
Yeah.
It's like farming, there's not a day off.
Yeah. So the real value of our program that sets us apart from any other type of wine learning situation you could find yourself in is over the course of their 18 to 24 months with us, they're going to spend over 500 hours actually doing hands-on winemaking or hands-on vineyard management. So that's really very small class sizes, usually just me or one of our adjunct faculty with maybe 5 or 6 students, looking at a row of vines and going through and actually trimming those and actually kind of troubleshooting with them. So we show them, they show us, and we coach them through it. So we're trying to really make sure we're giving them hands-on skills that they can use in their career.
What's the best part of the experience for you?
For me, the best part for me is I still get to make wine, but I don't have to do any of the cleanup. So, and I think they would all agree. And Bart, you said, "Oh, it's a lot of hard work." It is a lot of hard work. You'll see through some of these images, it's just people staring at clusters of grapes.
Sure.
Cardinal rule: you cannot make great wine from anything less than grapefruit. You can make bad wine from grapefruit. That's just bad winemaking. Sure. But you can't do the opposite. Certainly, you can't make great wine from poor fruit.
Do you guys take your shoes off and stomp on the fruit?
Number one question: all students want that experience. It's really fun till you get in there.
Yeah.
And actually, it's fun while you're in there. It's when you try to get out of the bin. So that last photo is a bin of fruit. There's 900 pounds of fruit in there. If you get out, getting out of that is really challenging. There's a viral YouTube clip of the grape stomp lady. Some people might know that. That's like the worst case scenario.
We have a family friend in Pittsburgh, and they have a big wine making deal, and where there's 20 people in there stomping on grapes. It looks goofy.
Yeah, and there's just a lot of heritage with that. Yeah. That's how people crushed grapes in the earliest days, and it's still how some people do it now. And there's romance with that. Nothing better than a picture of a bunch of people standing around in bins of grapes, but.
People can come and actually taste wine at your facility?
Yes, we are. It's truly a commercial operation. So we produce everything at commercial scale. We sell it actually on Fridays and Saturdays from noon to 6 as public tasting hours and staffed by our students. So they're learning how to speak about wine, how to sell wine, and it can make for some interesting experiences, but you can taste what our students are up to, and I think we're doing a really good job of making sure we're putting a good product out in front of people too.
What a great program.
Yeah, thank you.
You would have loved their restrooms. They're so clean.
Really?
Are you in charge of the whole thing?
Yeah, I totally see it. I actually do those myself, just because I have so much pride in making sure those are perfect.
The place is awesome.
Yeah, it is a brand new building. It's a beautiful facility, and we're lucky to have it here in the Great Lakes region.
Well, we're certainly glad you're here. We have a little parting gift for you. We have some JTV items, and of course some Jackson coffee to take back with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tim.
Hey, happy to be here.
Happy to have winemaker from Lake Michigan College and my cousin, Bart's nephew, Tim Godfrey. More of the show. Stay with us.